So, just because you're a Marvel star doesn't mean that Disney's going to give you anything, because they are definitely probably penny pinching. Um, Brie Larson was on the Ellen show, and Ellen asked her if she got a bunch of money from being on all these really crazy Marvel movies, and she said she doesn't even get a Disney Plus account, which Brie Larson later tweeted that one of her first movies she's ever been in, this movie called Right on Track, which is two sisters that are drag racers. That's actually on the service. So one of her first movies and one of her latest movies are both on there. They still haven't given her a free account, which, like, you're Disney Plus. Your last movie brought in like $1 billion.
Yeah, but I'm not upset with it. I think it's fine.
Yeah,
But
I mean, I don't think she can afford a Disney Plus account. $7 a month.
sure. Well, we could say that. I don't know. I'm fine with it. But wait, you said it was a drag racing movie?
Yeah, so it's she and her sister, or her sister in the movie. They're teenagers. They're supposed to be drag racers.
I feel like I've seen this movie.
Oh, probably.
I feel like I've definitely seen this on the Disney Channel. I did not know that was Brie Larson.
Yeah,
Well, she's all grown up.
she really is.
She didn't. Maybe she needs to make another one, Right on Track 2. And then Disney's like, all right, you've earned yourself a free account.
That's probably fair.
Is it fair?
I mean, probably.
Did other people get free accounts?
That's what I'm wondering. Like, I wonder if you have to be like Robert Downey Jr. level of star to get a free account, and all of his underlings, they have to just pay like the rest of us peasants.
Oh my gosh. Well, at least we all can relate to
Yes.
Robert Downey Jr. All right, everyone. Welcome to the Sum It Up podcast. This is where we talk about movies, shows, games, and whatever the heck we want. You can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Anchor, and YouTube. I'm joined by my good friend John, and I'm Christopher. And we are your co-hosts for the day. John, how are you doing?
Chris, I'm doing pretty good. It's Thanksgiving this week. Gonna
That's right.
get real fat. Eat so much food.
Are you gonna have a turkey dinner here or with the in-laws?
With the in-laws.
Nice.
Yeah, so much food.
I'm having it at work, but we're getting turkey and stuffing and all that good stuff.
Nice.
So not the end of the world.
yeah.
But yeah, so we got a few stories here. Kind of a short show, but we'll have fun with it. But we're going to talk about what our thoughts with the Disney Plus app so far is.
Yes.
And so far for me, I'm enjoying the app. There's a lot of things to dislike. There's a lot of things to like, in my opinion. And the good outweighs the bad. First, $5.99 to start.
$6.99.
$6.99. The original, isn't that the original Netflix price was $7 a month?
Yeah, or definitely somewhere close to that.
Yeah, that I still think it's a deal. So I'm happy with the price point. There's a bunch of nostalgic movies, which is great. A lot of family-friendly content, which I think isn't a bad thing. But there are movies there that both kids and adults can watch and have a good time. So I'm happy about that. Even though I don't have any kids, it's like a service where I can watch a movie and my spirits are going to get lifted. I watched Remember the Titans the other day, and I was like, oh my goodness, the nostalgia. And I really enjoyed watching it again. It was nice. It was a good change of pace from like maybe on a streaming service watching Taken and like people being taken as like sex trafficking. It's a completely different change of pace. So I like that Disney is kind of taking up this part of the market. The other thing is that Star Wars content is all in one spot. Makes me happy. I've been watching the Clone Wars, been enjoying it so far, and I like that I could dabble in different things. Maybe I'm getting bored with that at one point. I could just be like, oh, let me go watch A New Hope, which is what happened when The Mandalorian came out. Mm-hmm. In the beginning, they had the first episode. It was like, you want to watch Empire Strikes Back? I was like, no. I want to watch A New Hope.
I want to go back.
I want to go back one more. And so I do enjoy that. It's all in one spot, especially MCU stuff. That's great too, so you don't have to buy the $500 box set from Best Buy. It's a steal.
Yeah.
Which, how many years would it take for that to pay off if you were doing Disney Plus? was it 7? I'm doing the math in my head. So roughly, it would take you more than 5 years of Disney Plus to pay for that box set.
Oh my gosh.
So you might as well just have Disney Plus.
Basically.
Yeah. And then what I also like with it is that I live in a rural part of the country. John here lives close to Chattanooga.
I live in civilization.
You live in civilization. I live in the mountains.
Yeah.
And I mean rural. So the fact that my internet is holding up with the streaming service, I've had a couple of hiccups. But compared to streaming services I've used in the past that like cut out completely and I have to either relaunch the app or wait 5 minutes for the stream to come back up, this service does pretty good. So I can tell that it's an internet problem rather than the service. So which makes me feel good. And those are the likes I have so far. So what do you like so far about it?
Well, so normally I'm not the one to play the negative side of things in our discussions, but as far as reviewing Disney Plus as a almost 29-year-old man, which I get that I am not the core of the market that they've been reaching out to in this.
Yeah, they're looking for 27-year-old males.
So close.
Which would be me.
Just missed the mark.
I know.
So, I mean, I'm content with it so far.
Okay.
But let's start with the pros. So, first of all, the quality of the original content has been great. Mandalorian's great. We'll talk a little bit more about the world according to Jeff Goldblum. So the original content, I think, has definitely Disney level standards of being good, which I'm really happy with. I'm super excited about all the upcoming MCU TV shows and their connections to the MCU and seeing how everything's going to interrelate. And just that the whole universe is basically expanding. I'm really excited to see that.
Yeah.
And the fact that all of the MCU content and Star Wars content is all under one roof, that's easily accessible, and I can switch in between anything I want. Those are the two big selling points for me personally: Star Wars and Marvel content. So I know my wife is glad that I don't have to try and keep collecting all of the MCU movies anymore. They're all online. So
yeah, it's like you might have to invest in an actual bookshelf now instead of a bookshelf for your DVDs.
Oh my gosh.
Which I'm still a fan of, having collections of stuff. For me,
Yeah.
games, I don't like anything. There's a few games I have digital, but a majority of my nostalgia is all on cartridges, and I want to give them away, or CDs.
Which means there's a different feeling when you have something that's tangible.
Oh yeah.
Not something just I don't know, like just online.
Yeah.
So some cons. For me personally, and again, I know I'm not the target audience in a lot of ways. I'm not a child. I don't have kids. But I feel like there's a lot of filler on this service, whether it be all of the really old and kind of unknown Disney movies that really weren't a part of my childhood. It's basically just anything that Disney has under their umbrella that they want to put out now just to kind of fill out the service to make it seem like, or boost their hours of content. So it doesn't seem like there's as many options as there really should be.
Do you consider, my question is, do you consider, this is just for me personally, do you consider Flubber to be filler?
No, that is quality content right there.
Okay.
Don't you dare talk down about Flubber.
Whoa, I'm not talking down. It's just, I was looking at it and I was like, for the Robin Williams nostalgia, I might watch it later this week.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, I don't think I'm going to go back and rewatch all of these old shows and movies that have been part of my childhood. So for me, I would much rather be a part of a service that provides good quality original content or things tied in with existing IP. So speaking about all that, so when Disney Plus was being pitched, they were hyping up all of those upcoming MCU shows, all of the upcoming Star Wars shows, all of this upcoming content, and it's probably on me. I don't think I really did the math before it launched, because there's almost a year between the launch of the service and the first MCU show coming out. Which, granted, they just started filming it early this year, so I understand the production takes a while. But after The Mandalorian ends at the end of this year, like there is not going to be hardly anything original until the fall of 2020. So potentially like 9 months before we get a substantial amount of good original content. As far as MCU goes, and there's even longer waits on the Star Wars content. I haven't seen a list recently about when some of like the younger Disney kind of shows are coming out, but I don't know. And I feel like the service is still more glitchy than it should be. I was rewatching the latest episode of The Mandalorian today and prep for our review, and just scrolling back because I missed a line that was said, and so even just scrolling back 10 seconds, the video was frozen while the audio kept playing, and then eventually the video snapped back into place.
Now, did it do that on what kind of device did that happen on?
Granted, I was watching it on my phone,
Oh, okay.
but
Which that has happened to me on I watch it on my PlayStation.
yeah,
But I've watched some of the content on my computer, and it doesn't have that issue. But the fact that it's still happening, it happened on your phone, it happened on my PlayStation, and those are going to be the optimal. No one's going to put on their computer and watch it. Most people would rather watch it on an iPad and an iPhone.
yeah. The idea should be that it should be very supported on these mobile devices where it's more accessible to people. So overall, I think there's a lot of potential with this service. I think there was a lot of hype that was promised initially that we really aren't going to see the payoff for until almost a year from the launch of the service. But even then, there's going to be a long break in between all of these upcoming shows that I'm looking forward to. There's not as much of the immediacy as say Netflix and their original content, where they or Hulu or HBO seem to have something coming out new once a month or so, where there's not as much downtime between draws into the service.
Yeah, I can see where you're coming from. Like all of your points are totally valid. Like I dislike some of the things about the service too. Like for me, the UI is awful.
Yeah,
it looks nice, but the problem is that searching for a movie is annoying, and then also like the other content looking for certain stuff like documentaries. There's not a lot of documentaries on there for a whole category that you have.
Yeah,
I agree. Like there's not the content. The content is mostly for kids, and if you're looking for other content in there, it's very scarce. It's like there's not a second page or anything. It's just like maybe 10 things. So that's kind of disappointing. I agree with you on nostalgia isn't enough to build it up. That makes, for your argument, totally makes sense. I'm okay with it, but I do notice that it is a flaw for if you're trying to be diverse as they want it to be. And then also hate, this is a small gripe, but I hate that it has movies on the screen that you can click on, but they're not available. That annoys me.
See, and that's the thing. Like, it seems like they want people to keep thinking about what's coming out, not what's currently there necessarily.
Yeah, like I have the dates like burned into my brain, I guess, that like, oh, we'll get Black Panther in like March 31st or whatever of next year. And then like Star Wars will come out. The Last Jedi won't be available until like May or something, or April. Yeah. I don't remember what month it was. Maybe it's further down the line, but I wanted to watch The Last Jedi over the weekend because, I'm someone who doesn't like it as much as others. I don't hate it, but it's my least favorite Star Wars so far.
Yeah.
And I thought, let me rewatch it, because we're getting close to Rise of Skywalker, and I can't, which, it's so weird that they have contractual obligations that are stopping me from watching it, and then it's up there. And then I clicked on Black Panther, same thing happened. I was like, okay, I guess I'm just not going to watch any movies that are MCU or Star Wars today.
Yeah, and while we're on that subject, so the Sony Spider-Man movies with Tom Holland more than likely will never be on Disney Plus because of the way Sony has the rights and has worked out the contract with
sucks.
Them. Yeah, I mean that's a core part of the MCU that's not going to be centralized with everything else, at least unless Disney buys out Sony or completely buys the rights back to Spider-Man.
Yeah, unless they can work on a deal. But Sony's trying to put out its own thing in the future,
Yeah.
so that's probably unlikely. But and then the other thing that I'm also disappointed with, and this is also very nitpicky, but me personally kind of disappointed, is that they don't have enough content about Disney itself, the company, the parks. They've done so many documentaries on the parks and the history, the the development of certain rides, changing. I like that a lot. But all they have on Disney Plus that I could find was the Imagineering series, which is like a three-part. It's a mini series, like three-part of content.
Yeah.
And I was kind of bummed out. Like, this is a time to gloat for Disney Plus. Let me learn about how you changed the Star Tours ride like several times over. Let me learn about the Disneyland and how it took shape, which they do go over in Imagineering, but not to the extent and stuff I can find on YouTube.
Yeah.
It's disappointing, honestly. So I want that to be better, but I don't know how long it's going to take or if it's in their plan.
Yeah. Yeah, so I mean, I guess any final thoughts before we wrap this up?
Like I said, overall, I'm enjoying it so far. Mm-hmm. And all of my nitpicks are kind of me very personally wishing that something was better. But overall, I think the service is taking a big part of the market share because of kids.
Yeah.
And I like that competition. So I think it's a good thing. And I think the app can only improve from here. And hopefully Disney doesn't drop it like they did with Skylanders or whatever the heck that was.
Yeah, I mean, I've got a lot of my friends have kids, and so I see their reactions to it on Facebook, and it seems like it's exactly what they want, and it's so I think in that respect, I think they've definitely cornered the market with kids and their parents and having something for everybody that the whole family can enjoy. So I think like you said, it can only go up from here. I think they're only going to continue to expand.
Exactly. I just don't want Disney to do a Google and just drop a whole project.
Yeah. So the next thing I want to talk about, obviously there have been a couple biopics about various musicians out, whether it be Freddie Mercury or Elton John. So the next major one that's in the works, or one of the next major ones, there's a few, but the one that I'm interested in is the Michael Jackson biopic that's currently in production. So it's coming from the producer of Bohemian Rhapsody, which I mean was an incredible movie. So I'm very excited that it's going to at least be made from the same creator, or one of the same creators as that. Now he's come out, or they've come out to say that this is not going to be a sanitized rendering of his legacy.
Oh man!
Obviously, he has a very polarizing history.
Yes, he does. He does. Yeah. So
they, at least right now, they're saying they're not going to water it down. They're not going to cut things out in certain ways. So the screenwriter, who is obviously a separate person, that they've attached to this movie, which is pretty interesting to me, has also worked on things like Gladiator, like Sweeney Todd, like Skyfall, Aviator.
Yes, things that make you feel really, really bad for the protagonist. Really great stuff.
Well, yeah. So they're all very empathetic stories that tell very deep and emotional narratives. So I think that at least has potential there. So HBO recently put out a documentary called Leaving Neverland, that the Michael Jackson estate has called a tabloid character assassination, which they've been involved in a $100 million lawsuit because of that documentary.
Which is why this news surprises me. It's like they say it's not going to be sanitized, and you're going to talk about allegations. You're probably going to bring up, this documentary, just referencing it, maybe to be like, oh, a documentary came out. I just, as a biopic, like maybe later on in it because of his legacy. I don't know if they're going to focus on certain times of his life, or if they're going to bring up some really messed up stuff in his biopic. Like, you're going to get someone to portray Michael Jackson. Let's say he looks at a kid very creepily or something like that. This kind of this has me concerned because
Yeah.
it feels like reactions from social media and reactions from the music industry, just reactions in general, are going to be critical of this movie, and not in a way to be like you didn't make it bad enough or blah blah blah. It's going to put a microscope on. It's going to put a larger microscope on Michael Jackson, and people are going to be fighting again. Like, let's talk about his music rather than what he did. Separate the musician from the art.
Mm-hmm.
And people said it about R. Kelly too, which R. Kelly's reputation just keeps on plummeting and plummeting. And I don't think a movie biopic is. And I don't think this is a good time to do it.
I mean, I think that if it can be done correctly under the best of circumstances, it's a great way to introduce or maybe reinvigorate a legend's music, which, I mean, he had a major contribution in the music industry, and that can never be denied.
Yeah.
I mean, so the complicated part of it is that obviously with all of the abuse that he suffered from his dad as a child, getting into the music industry as he set the standard for his whole family, I mean, that's going to already be a very touchy part of his life to hit upon. And then moving into the 70s and the 80s and the 90s and seeing his musical career progress. I mean, obviously, initially at least, there was a very major emphasis on his musical talent, which is, I mean, that should be the focus. And it's not even until...
But people are going to be, like, you bring up that point,
Yeah.
people are still going to be upset with that if you just take that angle.
Yeah.
That's the thing that's why I don't think this is a good idea, because you are going to upset one part of the aisle on this, and that's why I'm surprised they're going to touch this. Maybe 20 years down the line, yeah, go for it. But we're still healing, not even healing, we're still dealing with the ramifications of these documentaries that come out. And not to say that there's anything wrong with them.
Yeah.
I think they have a role to play and awareness. I do believe that there's nothing wrong with that. But to come out with a biopic, what is your intentions here? That's where my question needs to be answered. Because if I see this movie and the intention is to be glorifying of Michael Jackson, you have a lot of people upset. I'm going to be like, why'd you do it now?
Yeah.
On the other end, if you're going to be vilifying Michael Jackson even more, it's going to be a repeated cycle of, like, look at how negative we want to focus on. Like, humans love Schadenfreude, which is taking the pleasure in other people's misfortune. It's just, do we need that right now?
Yeah.
It's good to shed light, but to make a whole biopic, you could do another documentary if you wanted to, in a different fashion. I just am kind of taken back that they want to do this.
Well, then the other controversial or potentially controversial aspect of this is then you have to get into the idea of who would you even cast.
Oh, gosh.
Because, I mean, not to be like insensitive or anything, but obviously at one point in his life, because of the medical aspect of his life, he had one color of his skin, and then as time went on, lost the pigments, became more white. So then do you recast an older actor that is of a different race, or do you find someone that can accommodate that medical aspect of it all? So do you have any thoughts on maybe potential casting or how they might go about that?
Well, the first name that came to my mind was Michael B. Jordan.
Okay.
But I feel like whoever takes on this role, I just hope they don't get a lot of backlash, flack. I hope they're not harassed by social media because they're doing this project or they choose to do it. Mm-hmm. I really hope that's not the case, and I think that's going to happen. It's what I hope wouldn't, but ultimately with how things have been with outrage culture and stuff, I think it's going to happen. It makes me sad. I hope I'm proven wrong. Yeah. I really do. I'm hoping for the best. But that's Michael B. Jordan is a great actor. I think he could do it. Jamie Foxx might be able to do like an older version of him because Jamie Foxx is very talented musicianly and as an actor, he's fantastic. Besides that, I can't think of anyone maybe there are other people who are escaping my mind. Yeah, I don't. Maybe Chris Tucker,
I mean,
but I just don't. I don't like. I just don't like it. There's no way for me to go around it anymore. It's just I do not like what I'm seeing here.
yeah.
And do you think there's someone who could play him?
Um, I oh, what is his name? He was on SNL.
Jay Farrow?
Yeah, Jay Farrow. I think Jay Farrow could probably pull it off. I mean, you need someone who has like a lighter frame, like he does, who's younger. Um, I think Michael B. Jordan is just too stocky. Yeah,
Yeah, he'd have to do. Yeah, I think Jay Farrow or Chris Tucker if he's gonna play an older version of him because
yeah,
he's got that kind of lankiness. Or even Donald Glover
yeah, yeah. Potentially.
potentially. I like Jay Farrow. Jay Farrow would be great, but I don't know if he'd want to touch that. He is a comedian, so it's always about pushing that edge a little bit more. But I think this needs to be handled very delicately.
I'm definitely curious to see more plot details unfold and kind of their angle about attacking this and how it's going to play out.
Yeah.
Because I think it has the potential to be a really well done movie, but I mean, like you said, somebody is going to end up getting offended on one side or the other.
Yeah. And geez, is there away from this, but on the same topic a little bit? Is there a biopic that you would want to see if another musician?
Yeah, so I was thinking about this a little bit, and I think at least a couple big contenders for me would be Prince. I think would be an excellent.
I think Prince would be awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, Prince. I agree with that one.
Kurt Cobain. I think if you want to go darker a little bit,
Ooh.
he's got an incredible story that I think a lot of people still relate to. And it is a bit of a darker take on this genre that I think is kind of emerging here.
I don't know if we're ready for that.
Maybe another couple years.
And if we are going to do it, Todd Phillips needs to do it so that it's done tastefully.
Yes. But then my last one that I was kind of imagining was and just go with me on this, a Weird Al Yankovic biopic that's kind of in his same vein of a parody on this whole genre. Which, I mean, he has gone through a lot of trauma himself. In kind of researching the story, I came across an article about how he was preparing to start a countrywide tour about his latest album. I think this was in the 90s, and as he's about to like the day or two before he goes on stage for the first show of this tour, he gets a call that both of his parents died from carbon monoxide. Carbon monoxide poisoning in their own home.
Oh.
And rather than cancel the show, rather than cancel the tour, he said he needed to be up there on stage. And if he wasn't, he would just spiral into a deeper depression. And at least being out there could bring joy to people's lives, could maybe be a distraction to where he could process the grief in his own time. So there's a lot of depth, and it wouldn't just be a silly story. Like I know a lot of his, on the surface level, a lot of his music can be. But I think he has a really interesting story to tell that can maybe put a new spin on where I think this genre is eventually leading to.
Yeah, I mean, they do say that, like, comedians find levity in grief, and it's a great coping mechanism. So, and seeing interviews Weird Al has done, he seems just like a very wholesome guy who is grounded, but also realizes that, people are going to have their opinions.
Yeah.
And for the most part, you just need to get those people to laugh. And I really enjoy that about him. I don't think I would like to see a Weird Al biopic. I would rather instead see a feature-long documentary on him.
Okay.
And I'm sure there are some out there, but I would like to see him lead the charge on it, or a company that does it and he's very involved with it. I think that'd be better for Weird Al, because I do think that people still say it's like, oh, the parody guy, blah, blah, blah. But that's all they know. I'd like to get more into depth. Like you said, with the story about his parents both dying, I think a documentary would be better for that than a biopic. Plus, Weird Al isn't dead, so...
Well, neither is Elton John.
True. too. It feels weird when they're alive. I would personally myself, I'd love to see a biopic on the lead singer for the second lead singer for AC/DC. Technically, Bon Scott. If you're talking about the first popular lead singer, it would be Bon Scott. There was one before him, but he got too drunk, and then Bon Scott was a roadie who ended up knowing all the lyrics to the songs. Like, he's better than the first guy, so they went with him, and then they became super popular. And then he died. He overdosed. So I would love to see someone like him get a biopic, and I really like your choice of Prince. That one would be very cool. I think David Bowie would be another good one.
Yeah. Which actually, now that you bring that up, there actually is a David Bowie movie in the works. And also a Bee Gees one. As a side note, the David Bowie movie is under a different development team, different producers, but that one actually has a studio that's attached. The Michael Jackson biopic does not. So that one is actually farther along in development than the Michael Jackson biopic.
Yeah. And these biopics need to be very tasteful in the way they handle things. I think Bohemian Rhapsody was a great way to get it more mainstream and started. I know there's been other biopics before, but this one's more digestible for everyone. Yeah. They did take liberties with certain things, which I don't think is fair, but they're trying to make an entertaining story.
Yeah, it's Hollywood. You end up having to do that just to make it a slightly more exaggerated version of the story.
But it's Freddie freaking Mercury. Why would you exaggerate more than him? Like, him in real life is enough. He's a showman in women's pants. Like, you can't get more eccentric. He is that, and that should be entertaining enough. But, Hollywood, want it to be a little bit more crazy than it has to be. So yeah, I get it. But anyways, you have any more thoughts on this?
No, I'm good. I am actually curious to see what you have to say about our third story here.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, it happened. I saw JoJo Rabbit. I finally did. Chattanooga came through to show it. Out of the multiple theaters it had, out of the 6 theaters in the area, only one was showing it. And I went, and I saw it at the AMC 18, and it was great. JoJo Rabbit, I wish Disney had just the cojones to put this out. And just give it the full release now. This was wholesome. It had some dark undertones. The acting was brilliant, and the ending was great. I teared up at scenes. I laughed out loud at scenes. And I felt for the characters. I was very intrigued for their well-being or what's going on, and the way they make fun of the Nazis is tasteful. Yes, it's satirical, and they have a Hitler in it, and it's not what you think. And to just give it in context, it's not saying that what they did was right. At no point is it glorifying what they do. It tells it in a whimsical way that it's beyond a doubt. It's terrible. And like I said earlier, that comedians find levity in grief. Mm-hmm. In no way is there trying to bring levity to the fact that people are dying. That Jewish people are terrible monsters. They bring levity to that, but it's so ridiculous that you can't have sympathy for these people.
Just so detached from reality that you can make the separation.
Yeah, exactly. They're like, this is a whimsical interpretation of the Nazis in a way that is ridiculous, and I'm going to laugh at it. Why not that be the legacy?
Yeah.
Yes, there is a legacy for how dark and terrible it is, and we should always remember that. It's part of not a European history, but human history. Mm-hmm. And hopefully it never repeats itself again. But this takes it into a light where I think people can digest it and make fun of Nazis. And that's a win. That has to be a win. Yeah. But overall, the story was compelling. The acting was very good. Scarlett Johansson did a great job. I think the kid, JoJo, was amazing. He was the shining spot of this movie. by far. And the supporting cast that they had was also fantastic with Rebel Wilson. Her character was hilarious. They Alfie from Game of Thrones was in it.
Yeah.
His character did not say a lot, but his body language was very awkward and funny. They did a lot of things right, and I can't say enough good things about this movie. Everyone should go see it. Definitely not for kids. Don't bring a kid to this movie.
Yeah.
But I just implore you to try it out because it pulls on your heart in many different directions.
That's awesome.
That's how a movie should be.
Absolutely. So speaking of movies, Chris, I want to ask you a question. What are you watching?
So, over the weekend, I watched Remember the Titans. Loved it. Fantastic. It got me so hyped for just football in general, which I haven't had a lot of time to watch because of work, but I love the theme in the movie. I love the music. I love Denzel Washington and his performance. And yeah, it's a great uplifting movie, and I hope to watch another movie like it on the Disney Plus streaming service.
Yeah.
And then I'm also watching the Clone Wars. I've made it past season 1, which I heard is not that great of a season, and I'm into season 2, and I want to keep watching it. So far, I think it's good. I now understand why people are like, you need to watch it if you're a real Star Wars fan. It is great. And then over the weekend, I also finished Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. And if anyone's thinking about picking up the game, or if you're a Star Wars fan and you haven't thought about it, get the game. I know it's $60. It might not seem like it's worth it. In the first few hours, the game is not grabbing you in. But when you're towards the middle of this game, you feel like you are in the Star Wars universe. It might be the best single-player game they've put out.
Nice.
Is it worth $60? I don't think so, just because of how short on content. But I loved the story, and it got me so hyped for Rise of Skywalker. So, I did a TV show, I did a movie, did a game. It's been a great weekend.
Nice.
And how about you, John? What are you watching?
So, speaking of Disney Plus, I started watching The World According to Jeff Goldblum.
What are your thoughts so far?
Oh my gosh, he should have been narrating everything. You can tell that it's like semi-scripted, but it's him being him. He is just, I love his like take on things, the way that he approaches different things. He is just a goofy, interesting man that I want to hear more from. The first episode was about shoes and the history and kind of development of the popularity of sneakers today.
Really?
Which you would think wouldn't be that interesting, but is fascinating. The second episode is about ice cream and its history and kind of the role in nostalgia that it plays today. They're very just odd topics that he makes very digestible and interesting, that you just want to keep listening to him talk about and explore more. He has a custom pair of shoes made for him based on like his moments in his past and his family.
It's almost like he's taking items in his home and he's like, I want to do a documentary about that. Shoes. The ice cream in the fridge.
That's basically all it is, but it's so well done and really crafted in a very interesting way. So I'm excited to keep exploring that series and see where they go from there.
Yeah, I'm going to have to check it out then. But all right, everyone. Thank you for joining us. We are towards the end of the podcast. Please check out our Mandalorian episode 3 review we'll be putting out this week. And we'll actually be able to review the episodes a little bit earlier when they come out. So get excited for that. So please check out that review. And yeah, that's all we got for you this week. Everyone have a wonderful, happy Thanksgiving. And stay safe out there.
All right.
In the Black Friday shopping.
Oh, please.
Please stay safe. I personally like the Black Friday shopping, going out there and stuff. I know you'd rather be at home on the computer.
I want to be hiding from humanity.
You know what, Schadenfreude? As much as I am a hermit, sometimes it's nice to just watch the chaos up close and personal.
Yeah.
But anyways, all right, everyone. Have a wonderful week.
All right. Bye.